What is going on, fellow shooters and marksmen, women, marks people? I don't know how to be politically correct in 2022. Anyways, welcome to Marksmanship, past and present. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the term Jap Crap. So, as you can probably tell by the look on my face, I really don't want to do this video, but it needs to be addressed. So, if you have been around the forums or at a gun show and an Arisaka comes up, or Arisaka, however you want to say it, that term will come up. It usually comes from either an older gentleman, usually what we would call a FUD, or sometimes that can come from a boomer. But it'll usually go along the lines of, like, I'm going to do my best impression. Well, those Japanese rifles, those are Jap Crap. They're, they blow up when you shoot them. They're just not good rifles, sonny. You need to get you a good old Springfield or a Mauser action of some sort. So, or some along those variations. If they don't mention the Mauser reference, ask them that question. Do you like Mausers? And then I'm going to pause the video for a second here, but there's a picture that's popping up. Show them this picture. I want you to screenshot this, keep it on your phone, and either post it in the next forum or show it to the next guy at the gun show that says that term. And ask him, can you identify the piece of Jap Crap and distinguish it from the Mauser? And I'm really curious to know if they'll be able to tell you which one's which. And let me know. Post it down in the comments. I really want to hear this. We're going to make a social experiment out of this video. All right, so with that, I think you guys already know where I'm going with this if you looked at the picture. The Japanese Arisaka is a modified Mauser action. So let's get these two rifles off the wall. We got a K98 and a Type 38. Let's look at them. All right, guys, so here we got a Type 38 Arisaka, and then we got a German Mauser-made K98K. So what are our similarities? Well, we got a bolt handle here. It's just straight. We got a bolt handle here that's bent down, but they were straight on some of the original Mausers. Let's actually look at the components here. So here we got a bolt. The Mauser, we got a bolt. We got a long extractor on the Mauser, very well known for that, and also on the Springfield, which is a Mauser derivative as well. And then here we got another long extractor again. So cool, right? Pretty similar so far. Let's cock these open just a little ways. Let's take a look at the actual bolt heads. So there's the Arisaka, which is cock on open, or excuse me, cock on close, and the Mauser's cock on open. But there were Mausers that were cock on close as well, just like the Arisaka is. So here we got a bolt lug. And on the Arisaka, we also got a bolt lug. Still looking pretty similar. Now the Mauser does have an extra bolt lug that acts as a guide, helps lead to it being smooth. So let's go ahead and pull these back even more. Okay. And okay. Locks open on the floor plate. Okay. Mauser. Oop, get my finger out of the way. Yep, same thing. Locks on open on the floor plate. Cool. You also got stripper clip guide here. Stripper clip guide here. Pretty cool. You got a space for your thumb to easily depress the bullets in off of a strip clip. A little bit better on the Mauser, but same concept. You know, right there, you got a spot for your thumb to go when you're pushing in bullets. That's cool, right? So overall, I mean, that's pretty darn similar, right? Well, let's actually take the bolts out and let's get those disassembled so we can dive into this a little further. Alrighty, guys, so here we have our two different guns, two different bolts, all disassembled. So here's the Arisaka bolt, here's the Mauser bolt. Now, one of the first things you'll notice is less parts. We'll talk about why here in just a little bit. These are more parts, a little bit more intricately machined, but that's how the Germans were. So, I mean, they make fine crafted stuff, at least until the war ended, or closer towards the war ending. So let's go ahead and talk about the similarities of these guys. So let's start with looking at the bolt faces of both of these. So both of these are a controlled feed, and what that means is the minute that these bolts lift the round out of the extractor, they flip up and are controlled by the extractor 100% of the way. And what that allows you to do is to make sure that that round goes all the way in the chamber, or if you need to, for some reason, short stroke it or whatever, it's going to pull it all the way out and kick it out. Because if it's not a controlled feed and you start that round in there and it gets in that chamber and you go to pull the bolt back for some whatever reason, instead of causing either A, a double feed malfunction, or B,
a tip to primer situation, you could potentially have an out of battery detonation, which is very dangerous. You don't want those. This eliminates that problem. So both rifles use a controlled feed, which is really cool. Again, we see those long extractors. We pointed that out. We have gas vent holes here to help mitigate gas. That's always cool. So if you had a cartridge that was, military, tolerances and all that stuff were very different between those. So sometimes they would have a ruptured case. It had a way to flow the gas out of the bolts. And speaking of gas mitigation, you have these. So these are the back of your, this is the back of your bolts. So both of these act as a gas shield. Now, the Arisaka simplified this because they both also house your safety features on these rifles. And Mausers are known for their flags. And this guy would kind of slide in here all the way over. That's fire. You had a disassembly position, which would allow you to open the bolt and then pull it out. And you can use that little flag as leverage to take things apart. And then all the way over would lock the gun completely up, including the trigger. So, but that was a separate part. The Japanese actually made this all one part. It was actually, a couple parts, but then it was welded together to be one unit. And the concept was you would palm it in, twist, and that would lock the whole gun up. So it is less parts, and it does multiple things, which is really, really, really smart. Now looking down at the firing pin. So basically on the German firing pin, spring goes over like that. It is much more intricately milled. It's got a lot more grooves and stuff because it has to interact with the back of the bolt knob, and it twists, and that's how it locks everything together. The Japanese, again, you got just a basic surface here for it to ride on the sear of the trigger. Your firing pin is inside instead of being on the outside, and this is much, much, much more simpler to manufacture. You just turn it down, turn it down, turn it down, and then turn it down, and then all the milling you got to do is pretty much back here. So much more simple. Why did the Japanese make it simple versus the Germans having a much more complicated system? Well, the Germans already had the tooling for these. I mean, this is basically a modified Gewehr 98 action, just a couple of minor differences. These guys made it simpler because if you guys studied the history, the Japanese did not have a lot of resources, so they were trying to minimize parts and minimize time in production. So thus they created a very simplified Mauser action, but it is still, obviously by now, a Mauser action. They're the same. So with that, we are going to go ahead and get these two bolts put back together, get them in their rifles, and we're going to go back out and we're going to talk about where this myth came from, and then have some closing thoughts on this particular topic.
Alrighty, Jap Crap, that bastion of Floodlore myth. Let's get back to it. Let's figure out where it actually came from. So, another common thing you'll hear about these Japanese rifles is, oh, Sonny, don't shoot that thing, it'll blow up. And there is some truth to that with one particular model of the Type 38. So, let's kind of go into that. So, as troops were bringing these guns home, if you had one of these certain models of rifles, you could put a round in the chamber and it would blow up. And we're going to go into why. And that rifle are the Type 38 Arisaka training rifles. And what these were designed to do is they were designed to fire a blank. I've got pictures of both of these here, and one of these corners or both corners right now. And what they would do is they would take the older rifles that were shot out, instead of totally scrapping them, they would still get some use out of them and turn them into training rifles. And what they did was they took out the rifling that was usually pitted or gone by this point, shot out as we would call it, ground it down to be smooth, or ream it out to be smooth, and they would take off the bolt lugs. And what they would do is they would be able to use it with blanks that would fire a wood tip into it out of the barrel, and it would give you a live sound and or some moderate pressure enough to have a little bit of recoil, so they could use them to train with. Now, soldiers, as soldiers are, would bring these guns home, and if you didn't know what you had and tried to stick a live 6.5 round into that chamber and pull the trigger, because there are no locking lugs, and those are very necessary because of the high pressures of rifles, they could blow up. Not all of them. If you have one of these old rifles, as I always say with any of these guns, not just Japanese guns, look it over before buying it. Make sure it looks as serviceable as you can by the research that you put in. And if you're really not sure before firing it, you should probably take it to a gunsmith and have them look it over and make sure it's good. I generally do that with all of my guns. I have them looked at and make sure they're safe. If there are any deficiencies, I try to correct them within the historical accuracy of these rifles. So, Do Japanese rifles blow up? Yes, if you have one of the training rifles and throw a live round in it. Do your most average serviceable Type 38s and Type 99s blow up? No, they'll run all day long. They'll work, and they're actually pretty good shooters, especially the 6.5, so I've been told. I've got dies on the way, and you'll be seeing this rifle in another video. Same thing with anything else. As long as they're serviceable and they're running, they're going to be just fine. Is the Japanese rifle Jap Crap? No, it's a modified Mauser. I think we definitely delved into that deep enough for you to prove that, and you have some knowledge to go. So the next time you go to a gun show or are in a forum and someone says, they're Jap Crap, show them that picture. And like I said at the beginning of the video, put it in the comments. I really want to know what your stories are with that and what people's reactions are to that. So with that, guys, that's pretty much it. I think we've beat the Jap Crap myth into the dirt. They're not Jap Crap. They're not crap. They're Japanese, yes, but they're cool guns, and they're a part of history. So with that, guys, thank you all for watching. If you like this video, go check out our other videos on our channel. And if you like it, you should probably subscribe, because we have lots of cool topics that we talk about, FUD lore myth, and we talk about guns, gun rights, and technology advancing to leading to our modern day firearms a lot. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'm Chris Smith from Marksmanship Past and Present. And remember, your right to self-defense is self-maintained. We'll see you folks in the next video.